Grit and grace, that's how we grow. Step by step and child by child we know. There's power in the words we say. We lift the voices, light the way. Grit and grace, it's a journey we all share. For every child everywhere.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grit and Grace, a literacy journey. I'm your host, Gretchen Gadel, and alongside me, I have my mother and co host, Angela Hanlon. For today's episode, the magnificent Dr. Mitchell Brookins will be joining us. And in today's episode, you'll hear about his literacy journey, adolescent literacy, and literacy leadership. I'm so excited for today's episode because often when we think of literacy, we think of early literacy, and our adolescents get lost in the mix. And so today I'm hoping we're going to take that first step to change that. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to my mother. And mother, if you will, tell us a little more about Dr. Brookins and his background.
Okay, I am going to share some bio information about Dr. Brookins, but I just want to express for every single person listening, I am absolutely thrilled to have Dr. Brookins as a guest. And when Gretchen presented me with the idea for this podcast, I literally said, when we were making up our wish list of guests, I said, he's my one. He's my one. That's the one person I want to talk to. So, a little bit more. You are probably familiar with him, but let's dive a little bit deeper into all the work that he has done at a national level. Dr. Mitchell Brookins is a nationally recognized educational consultant and speaker with over 20 years of experience in K 12 education. He began his teaching career in Chicago Public Schools and served as a school leader in New Orleans, where he currently lives, where he led transformational gains, including increasing Dibble's attainment from 43% to 72%, boosting LEAP results by 16 points, and improving school letter grades from a D to a C in 1 year. Outstanding. He has presented at leading national conventions such as Amplify Symposium, the Patent Literacy Symposium, Keys to Literacy's National Writing Conference, the Black Men in Education Convening, and the Reading League Summit. Dr. Brookins currently serves as Managing Director of the Science of Reading Network at Leading Educators, where he leads district and state level partnerships to scale evidence-based literacy instruction. His work spans urban and rural contexts, including Jackson Public Schools, Baltimore City Schools, and emerging rural initiatives. In addition to all of this, he leads a citywide literacy leadership fellowship in partnership with New Schools for New Orleans through Brookins Consulting, LLC. He serves on the board of directors for the Reading League and holds a BA in elementary administration, an MA in teacher leadership, and a PhD in educational administration. And we are beyond thrilled to welcome Dr. Mitchell Brookins to the podcast today. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to have this conversation.
Good. So we're just going to jump right in for time's
Yep.
sake because we want to get in as much as we possibly can
And
with
I
you
want to
today. Go
say,
ahead,
I
Gretchen.
want to say real quick, after hearing your bio, in my classroom, whenever someone does something amazing, they either get a you go girl or a you go boy. And I feel like I really just have to give you a you go boy. That was amazing. All right.
Amazing.
That's all due to the work of children and teachers.
Mhm.
It,
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay, so
absolutely.
we're gonna take you back to the very beginning. And can you tell us about your own experiences as a reader growing up, especially when it came to, tackling those complex texts?
you have a really interesting story. If you allow me to share this, it's a little bit long, but
Sure. Go ahead.
when thinking about this question, it really took me back to sixth grade. I had just, I was in elementary school, and you know how everyone's excited about going to middle school and getting your own locker and all that. And I'll never forget that At the end of the first quarter of sixth grade, my math teacher, my English teacher, my reading teacher, my science teacher all said the same thing. Mitchell, you belong in gifted reading. And I had never heard that before because, and I've never really told this, but I started my journey in second grade where I had an F in reading. I had to go to summer school and all of this, and I've always had this, am I really a good reader? So
Mhm.
Mhm.
sixth grade, when they said I belong in gifted reading, that was like the first time I just felt like, wow, like someone saw that I had something in me. And so I go into the gifted reading classroom, and I'll be honest with you all, I was met with shock because the first text I ever had to read as a sixth grader was actually Romeo and Juliet.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
And this was gifted reading. I was told you're supposed to read all the texts we were reading were at least 2 or 3 years above our grade level, and it was Romeo and Juliet. And I was like, "Oh my goodness!" And I quickly said to myself, "I don't want to be looked at as stupid." I
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
one of the only black boys in this gifted reading class, and so I just felt like I had this pressure, like I had to perform. I share all to say to you all because I remember after school every day having that literature book and having to stop at certain points and look at my glossary and try to figure out what those words meant. I remember coming across long sentences, and I remember my seventh grade teacher, she taught us how to diagram sentences. And so I used to diagram the sentences in these novels because I wanted to figure out what these, what it meant. I
Mhm.
remember stopping reading Shakespeare and said, hold up, I need to read this aloud,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
I say all of to say, you all, I was doing all of that at home. That was not what was going on in the classroom.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And so I just kind of figured out like, this is what you do. This is how you interact with text. And when I got to high school, it all became about writing literary essays, and you had to write about the themes of books. And so I had to learn like, oh, okay, 5 paragraph essay, you got to have a thesis, and you always have to talk about core ideas. And so, in my mind, as a young student, I realized that reading was all about you got to write about it, you got to break apart complex sentences, you got to understand the vocabulary. I got to college, and my first paper, now, throughout all of my middle school and high school, I was an A student. I got to college, and my first paper was a C. And my professor said, I didn't ask you to write about the book. I wanted to know what your thinking was about this author's work. All you are doing is summarizing and retelling
Mhm.
and just you've identified the theme, but you haven't created an argument to prove that's the thing. And so I said, oh, so this is a new challenge for me. And so I have to have perspective and argumentative skills when it comes to writing. I share all to say with you all, I literally brought that into my first third grade classroom.
Love it.
I felt that as a third grade teacher, my first year of teaching, that I had to ensure that kids read challenging texts.
Mhm.
I had to make sure they understood the vocabulary. They wrote about it all the time. I think if you all found my students from back in the day, they would say Mr. Brookins made us write every day. So I don't that so that's how I got into like this whole complex text things because honestly, to be truthful, if I wanted to like stay in those honors classes, if I wanted to propel myself, it was predicated on my ability to navigate complex text.
Mhm.
I felt that
Yes.
was a gift I needed to give my children and my students in my classroom.
Yes. And it's huge. And I'm so glad we're addressing this topic and you're the one talking about it because, Mitchell, that's missing in classrooms today
Yes.
and in our instruction. That is it's missing at the middle school, high school level, but it's definitely missing in grades 3, 4, and 5. So I can't wait to hear what else you have to add.
So obviously, I now feel like you are the literacy guy. That's how I'm going to refer to you as Mitchell Brookins, the literacy guy. So if you will, just kind of tell us who helped you see yourself as a literacy teacher and how did that experience, just knowing that someone saw you as a literacy teacher, how did that change the trajectory of your career path of your teaching?
It was first quarter, first year of teaching, third grade. there was a district walkthrough. I don't know if people still do that, where
Yes.
you have
Mhm.
like 10 people come in the room,
Yeah.
watch you teach. And I'll never forget, it was the chief academic officer. She was the one who was really like known as the literacy director. And she pulled me to the side as she walked out of my classroom. She said, "You are a writing teacher." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Look at your room. Everywhere around your room, you have student writing up. Outside in the hallway, it's always writing. Everything in your room is writing." And when she said that to me, I said, "I guess I am a writing teacher." And I took that as like that was the affirmation. And so I literally like ran with that and said, okay, well, I know that writing is the highest level of literacy. It's the most challenging thing. I'm going to do that. Cause I don't know. I guess all my life with literacy, I've always been dealing with challenges. So I'm like, why not let the one main thing that's the most challenging be my thing?
Yes.
Yes.
I appreciate her doing that because she was an older, seasoned veteran educator who took a moment just to pour into me in that moment. And
Mhm.
now it's a part of my journey.
Yes, and I feel like that's an excellent point that's so important. When we see teachers doing something well, when we see that teachers have a strength, we need to tell them. We need to
Yes,
talk to them about that. We need to have them go into other classrooms or have people come into theirs and watch them model, see
yes,
what is happening. I feel like so often nowadays on like evaluation tools, people are like, "Well, you'll never have a perfect score." Why not? Because if
yeah.
you're doing it and you're doing it well, let's talk about it. Let's not beat people down. Let's embrace their strengths. Okay, so adolescent literacy. So many people get overwhelmed. So many people give up on it. You found yourself in adolescent literacy. You liked it. What has made you stay for all these years? What's kept you going?
Honestly, because I love it. It's my I always felt like that's what I was called to do. My principal, after 3 years of teaching third grade, saw what I was doing in third grade, and he moved me to sixth grade. He said,
Mhm.
"Whatever you're doing
Mhm.
here, move to sixth grade." And I'll never forget, state test scores came back after the first year of me teaching sixth grade, and 98% of my kids had passed the state test in
Just
reading,
stop.
in
Just
reading and
wait.
writing.
Nope. Just pause. We've got to celebrate that. We've got to celebrate that.
Well,
Yes.
again, you go, boy.
Oh
It
my
was
gosh.
that made I felt success. I realized like with middle school students, you got to let them talk. You've got to show them what to do. Like
Yes.
I just that became my niche, and I just became like voracious about, oh, that's what you all did with me last year. Let's up it up all the time. So I think it's just the motivation of knowing that I was making a difference and made an impact, and I saw that children responded. So yeah, I love the middle schoolers.
Middle school, it's my favorite thing I've ever taught. There's just something magical about it. They're not necessarily a baby anymore, but they're still kind of scared to be fully independent. And so I felt like when they came into my classroom, they were just actually for the first time they were really looking for that relationship with their teacher of, okay, I'm here. What are you going to do with me? I've got a lot of crazy things going on in my life that I don't understand. I just need you to help me out. And so I loved that.
I love that you
But
said that.
they,
I love that you said that because it's so true. When I taught third grade, the relationship was there, but the relationship was more of like the nurturer,
Yes.
yes.
right? And then when I moved to middle school, it's like no, they wanted to have a relationship with me. They wanted to know
Yes.
how I was thinking. They wanted to, and
Mhm.
and so that was really different. Although I'll say this, third grade is still my heart. Uh,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
do
Mine
love.
too. Third, fourth, and fifth. Those were my favorite grades. But grades 3 through 8, especially 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I feel are so ready for the discourse discussion.
Yes.
Mhm.
You can, and it just comes to life when you start tearing apart each word, each sentence of that literacy. Why did the author use this word? I mean, it can go to such a great, great place.
You,
Sorry,
you find
go
you
ahead,
find
Gretchen.
I found myself the best parts of being a literacy teacher in middle school is when you get lost in the conversation.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my
Just
gosh. Yes.
forgot that we were supposed to be here for a lesson and we got an exit ticket, all those things, and we just got lost and we're great. And guess what? Those are like the best moments. Those are the best
Mhm.
lessons. That's where learning happens.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Oh my gosh. So when I taught middle school English, we did the novel Number the Stars by Lois Lowry. And I love that text. And when we got to the chapter where the main character, like she's walking, she's trying to get the basket to the boat, and it starts weaving in Little Red Riding Hood, like, oh my gosh, my kids almost lost it. They were so excited. We read the chapter literally, I think, 3 times because we were all just so amazed by the author's craft and just getting into it. It was incredible. And then we talked about why was it this fairy tale that she chose? How would it have been different if she, tried to weave in the 3 little pigs or something else? And it was just phenomenal. Favorite day in a classroom that I've ever had. But okay, so we've talked about how much we both, loved teaching middle school. What do that's a unique perspective. A lot of people are always like, oh, yeah, no, you could not pay me to work with that age level. What do you think is most misunderstood about teaching reading in middle and high school?
Hmm. This is a big one because I would say the first thing, especially where I am now in my thinking, we've always heard the term, and you all have heard this term too, where we say, you know, we are learning to read, then reading to learn.
Mhm.
It's as if we have this understanding that that transition just happens automatically.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that's what's misunderstood as we think about, every phase of word reading development from consolidated alphabetic phase to automatic alphabetic phase, where you see the reader involves in more, self-teaching. You see more unitizing of words and graph themes. You see more flexibility there. It's advanced decoding. And what I have started to realize, like, we don't think we need to teach that.
Mhm.
Like you just learn phonics in first and second grade, you get it,
Mhm.
and then you're done. And then you're just supposed to just start reading big books. And I think that's to me, that is a gap. Even when I go back to my own teaching, I remember even as a sixth grade teacher, I said, oh, we need to have morphology. And
Mhm.
Mhm.
I need to teach that every day. And I'm not seeing that presently. I don't know. It seems like we think it's not needed. Or maybe it's, I don't know, they get it by osmosis.
Yes.
I'm not seeing it either, and I'm not seeing it explicitly taught and explicitly planned and designing, you know, in explicit instruction, the design, the delivery, we all know that. But I'm not seeing that explicitly designed to even take the instruction to that. And I think when so many teachers look at Scarborough's Rope, which is a favorite document of both Gretchen and mine, but when they see that, they see that the bottom part of that and they see phonemes down there and they think K2 and
Mhm.
only K2. And they think if I teach above K2, I only do the upper strands there. And it's such a misconception. So
Right.
thank you. Thanks
But
for bringing that out.
some people are also getting lost in the mix. And then when they're teaching these higher level grades, they only want to be focusing on the phonemic awareness, on the morphology, and then they're straying away from text. And
Yeah, yeah.
my greatest pet peeve, my greatest issue that I have, go back to your master schedule. How is it possible that in elementary we know these kids need 90 to 120 minutes, and then we think magically as they get older 45 to 50 is going to cut it?
Yeah.
And that they'll just magically take this all themselves and they'll just be able to do it
And I think
without the piece of explicit instruction. Mitchell, did you want to add to that?
I think it's and I think what's also we have to call this out too. It's not like it's like you just said, it's not just the curriculum gap. It is the systemic gap because when does that happen in the intro? When do you learn systematically how to break apart longer words? Why is it that we thought that in K2 you need 30 minutes to figure out
Mhm.
single syllable words?
Yep.
But yet when I get to Middle school, oh, I don't need the 30 minutes. And the words that I'm engaging with are much more complex. It make it make sense because it
Yes.
makes sense, right? So I think it's the curriculum gap. It is time, right? But even I think you called out too, Gretchen, around text. And
Hmm.
I'm also seeing on the flip side, if this makes sense, where I'm now going to classrooms and they're using complex text, but the conversation is still low level.
Yep.
Yes,
It it
extremely.
it's still very ping pong. It's still very I answer a question, kids answer it. It doesn't sound like discourse.
Hmm.
Right.
And so I think that's another, misunderstanding that I don't know, teaching reading is about assessment versus thinking and cognitive moves and processing ideas. Like I wonder like if that's another piece that we're missing in our field that we still look at reading like it's a rudimentary mechanical experience instead of a
Yes.
transformative one.
I agree. Yes.
So let's say that, you have strong materials, you have a phenomenal curriculum. Why are we still seeing the breakdown of comprehension in these adolescent classrooms? Why is that happening?
But I would add on to what I was just talking about. When you look at the curriculums themselves, it seems that the focus is just on the task and the activities.
Hmm.
Hmm.
You look at the lesson, it's scripted out. I'm going from this to this to this. But there really isn't this. Hold up for a second. What type of thinking are we doing today? What are the critical text excerpts you need to focus on today? What are the
Hmm.
ideas you need to tease out? Like the teacher isn't really engaging with a curriculum that prepares them to facilitate discourse. It prepares them to get through activities.
Right.
Right.
And I think that's a stall there, but I also say this one. Teachers are necessarily trained on how to deconstruct text.
No,
Hmm.
they are not.
And
And
they
so
don't often spend the time it takes to do it either on that front end on the planning, which is so critically important for the teacher to know and understand that text.
I think what helped me, I didn't say this part, but a part of my background is I actually have a degree in biblical studies, religious studies, where I, it's more up on a textual criticism side,
Yep.
where
Hmm.
I actually study Hebrew scriptures and the writer's craft and knowing authorship and things like that. Went on to seminary as well and got masters in this. And so the way I look at texts, I look at them from a disciplinary specific lens, from a
Hmm.
historical criticism lens, from a biographical lens. And so because I have that, that's how I engage with novels and text. I break them apart. I understand that it's not about me just teaching you the theme. It's about me teaching you the writer's craft that shape and communicates that theme.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. And so I think when teachers are not necessarily had that type of disciplinary literacy training with text, it doesn't matter what curriculum you give them, they're not engaging with text at a deep level. So I
Right.
Yes.
think that's why you'll see that HQIMs could be in place, but the conversation is still stalled, and because teachers are not trained. And I think the last thing, Gretchen, which is sometimes hard to express, are the HQIMs really HQIMs or are they IMs?
Mm.
What do I mean by that? When you look at the curriculums, are they providing explicit instruction in comprehension?
Yes.
Do you really see directions on how to support students with consolidating information, prioritizing information? These are thinking jobs you do as a reader. And so
Right.
when the curriculum is not even explicit in evidence-based practices,
Hmm.
how does a teacher scaffold children in the moment? I mean, you can look at some of these curriculums, and I'm like, even with the multilingual learner strategies they put on the side,
Yeah.
like 50,000 strategies. So which one is it?
Yes.
Right? So I don't think even in the curriculums, I'm not certain that we're even providing teachers they're not educative. So a teacher knows how to scaffold these hard things. It's just here's the activities, here's the text opinion questions, here's your text.
Mhm. Okay, and so
Can
if
I oh, can I add one thing here? So
yes.
you and I've had a conversation one time, and I just want you, if you're willing to address this quickly. Teachers, they know they need to do a turn and talk. This is just one instructional engagement technique. Okay. They know they need to do a turn and talk. So they've got a turn and talk plan. But you and I've talked about, are they having them talk about the right question from that piece of text? And that question that might be in the margin of their teacher's manual, is that even the right question they should be asking right there?
Yeah.
Can you expand on that just for a little bit more, if you're
I
willing?
think it gets down to stop making your turning talks procedural,
Mhm.
Yes.
right? Stop using it as an engagement technique. That's actually the problem. A
Yep.
turning talk is not an engagement technique. It is a moment to process ideas,
Mhm.
right? After
Yeah.
reflecting on that. And so that's the first part. But then what you also have to say to yourself in this moment of the text, what is the idea that we should actually be discussing? And what happens is the turning talk is, okay, tell what's happening right now.
Yes.
Okay, so you're talking about the setting. Okay,
Mhm.
you're not talking about, okay, so what just happened with this character? How is this character handling this situation in this moment?
Mhm.
That, and then come back. So I think there's a space of we're not talking about the most crucial core ideas of the text. Right, but that leans back to when you're doing your intellectual preparation, are you identifying the core ideas? Are you identifying the type of inferencing that needs to take place? Because some inferences are local, some are global.
Yep.
So if I know if this moment in the text demands that I do a global inference, that lets me know as a teacher, hold up, a whole lot of background knowledge is going to be added here. I'm going to have to probe and prime
Yes.
activate the knowledge to then make the coherence. If it's local, oh, I may have to take them back to a certain sentence or a paragraph we've read to help them make that, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
You have to know that you're actually scaffolding the thinking of children. You're trying to help them synthesize. You're not just trying to do a question and answer.
Right.
Yeah. I'm about to come up out of my chair right now. I'm so dang excited. Okay. Carry on. But my heart is just like about to leap right out of my chest.
I
I
have a
love this so much.
I have a quick point that I want to make as well. If we know that this isn't happening in every single classroom, that means we have teachers who were never taught this way. They never
Yes.
had that experience with text in their own personal classrooms when they were the student. So, how can we ask them to emulate or imitate something that they never had themselves?
Well, I think that, and I agree with you. I think as a literacy leader, one thing I used to do in my grade level PLCs is we would have book talks.
Yep.
Oh, let's bring if we're reading Toni Morrison, if we're reading Great Gatsby, if we're reading, I don't know, Bud Not Buddy, let's
Mhm.
talk about
Yeah.
the chapter.
Yes.
Mhm.
What did you see? How did you experience that? What you think about that sentence? What would you do in this moment? Letting I used to like doing that because you could see teachers nerd out and love text.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't I
But
think
we
we should
need more
also
leaders. We need more leaders modeling like that.
but
Mhm.
I also think we need to go back to allowing teachers to do that. I think, it's really hard because what I'm talking about and describing, you can't have a curriculum that's basically so bloated that all 90 minutes are accounted for.
Mhm.
So when I look at curriculum materials, I look to see, well, how many questions are being asked? How many tasks are being asked? Why? Because if it's too bloated, that curriculum was not trying to create space to have conversation anyway.
True.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And so I think we
Right.
also need to give teachers the grace to say, you know what? Honestly, it is okay that you are not at this chapter on this day or this day. What is the crucial conversation you need to have in this lesson? And sit there. I
Mm-hmm.
don't
Yes.
I don't think we're doing that. So I think it's twofold. It's the in the POC time, how are you allowing teachers to nerd out on those texts and love texts again and realize like we can enjoy them? And but number two, how do you also create a culture in your school that it's okay to slow down,
Yes.
have
Yes.
conversation?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so we know that there are obviously some gaps. That's one of the reasons that we have this podcast is all means all, closing those gaps, helping every student learn at a high level. So, what would it take to get adolescent intervention right? And what is stopping us? What is standing in the way of doing that?
Hmm. I think we also, when we look at the research, it's just clear it's multi-component interventions.
Hmm.
Hmm.
You also have to think first, they are adolescents. So the text demands, the task demands, and the real life demands go beyond one syllable words,
Yes.
right? So focusing on basic decoding with
Hmm.
middle school and high school students, you're only going to get so far because lifting words off the page of Toni Morrison doesn't really help you as much when you're all the cultural symbolism, all those things happening, right? So I
Hmm.
think we have to know that yes, we have to have decoding, especially advanced decoding pieces there, but we also have to mix that with comprehension strategies and be explicit about that. I know people think that's like a bad word, but I do believe that you are supposed in every book I read, you're supposed to come to the main idea.
Yes.
Like if you don't get to the main idea, why are we here? Right? You should be teaching me how to analyze text structure. You should be teaching me how to stop and summarize and gist. That should be a part of that intervention. And I also think, they have to talk. If oral
Yes.
language is the foundation of our literacy that we know that it is, then complex texts require that you have to talk about them. And then I would add the other piece, writing,
Hmm.
right? It's now saying we broke apart the words, we've summarized, we've got the critical ideas. Now let's use writing to help you deepen your understanding of those ideas.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's the difference. I'm not saying use writing to assess your understanding. I'm using writing to consolidate it.
Hmm. Or
Right?
even to work it out, to process your thinking.
Yep. So I call it the combo effect. And when you see the combo effect, that's where we see children actually making those leaps and bounds. Even we did an intervention here with one of the schools here in New Orleans with our sixth graders, and we did this multi-component intervention, and we did see we're talking a hundred point jump in Lexile scores in kids
Wow.
within that year.
Wow.
And so that's important. And guess what? It wasn't due to us using easy text.
Hmm.
We actually used text that we had to build muscle.
Hmm.
So
I know.
once you give kids a little bit of weight, they can grow a bicep,
Right.
Yep.
right?
So I have a question for you because you've talked so much about the complexity of text and you've mentioned a lot about books. You know, so many people they feel like they have to stick to that traditional, literature anthology, that textbook, and it's just those, those quick pieces of text that don't always have the meat and potatoes. They don't always have those good, rich conversations that just naturally arise. So, where do you think novels belong in the classroom?
Want to hear my bias?
Yes,
That
I
is
do.
that's my bias. Um, I really do believe that there should be a variety of texts, but I believe novels are great as the mentor text, the main text.
Me too.
Yes.
Yep.
And as we go through, and I call it going through the arc of a book,
Yep.
Mhm.
both those different aspects. So like now you're in this middle section of the book. I like to couple that with poetry, bring in nonfiction articles that support the conceptual build.
Mhm.
So I do
Yes.
believe that novels have their place. I just I know people would disagree with me on this, but I don't see how you're prepared for college if you cannot read an extended text.
Yes.
I don't
Amen.
see that how that's possible. So I don't see why it's not there. But here's the piece I will say that's very hard. It is very difficult to get through the Lightning Thief that is 430 something pages.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that you reference that text. It's one of my favorites. But
Yeah.
And your class reads at a second grade level.
yeah.
It's very difficult. So it's like, okay, I have children in front of me that don't have they do not have the skill set to handle Lightning Thief independently to read the 30 minutes or 30 pages you need kids to read a night.
Yep.
And so now my classroom, I now spend almost the 45 minutes reading it. So I'm not getting very far. I'm just calling that out that I understand the complexities. So
Yes.
I do believe that novels have their place. They should have their place. But I also am real enough to know that in certain schools, every month can't be a 400-page novel.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to choose strategically what are those extended texts and experiences you want kids to have.
I love that.
In our remaining time, I really want to kind of shift the focus now to literacy leadership because you've done so much incredible work in that area and you've got the data to back it up. Um, and I feel that this too is such an important topic right now, literacy leadership and especially instructional leadership. When you look at the current state of literacy leadership right now, what's encouraging and what do you think is still getting in the way?
What is encouraging that I do hear more leaders who are stepping to say that we need to right this wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
I'm
Yeah.
not getting I'm not getting administrators who are sitting here saying kids don't need to be taught how to read. Um, they're there. We're seeing policies. We're seeing, and in some cases, we're also seeing just lip service to have to
Yep.
be honest,
Yeah.
right? But I am seeing more of that. Um, and the principals that I'm working with, they're actually feeling kind of empowered.
Good.
They're like, oh, so just use this assessment? And oh, just teach the teachers this, like the level of precision, if you can just give them like this is the one or two things to do, okay, I can do that. So that's encouraging. I think what's still getting in the way, um, is the incoherent systems.
Yes. Yep. Can you say that one more time?
It it's 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 incoherent systems. It are systems that are disjointed. The PD and the assessment and the curriculum and the coaching and the district, they don't talk to each other.
Yep.
Right.
We're not together. We're not aligned. You you're saying I'm doing structured literacy over here, but guided reading is still over there, right?
So true.
It's misalignment. I'm also seeing assessment being an issue. Um, a lot of leaders are, I think, with good intention. They're taking universal screeners as the law,
Yep.
using universal screeners to say, well, this is our initiative. This is how you're going to group students. This is what your skills are. And I'm saying to myself, a screener only tells you what's at risk, what area is at risk. Your diagnostics are what's going to tell you how are you grouping students, what's the targeted skills within those groups. And I'm not seeing that conversation. Um, I would say the incoherent systems, the assessment, the over reliance on curriculum.
Yes.
Uh, so I bought the curriculum. This should fix the problem. I
Yep.
shouldn't
Yes.
do anything else.
Yes.
Right? Like, so there, oh yeah, and I give you the drive-by PD.
That, oh my goodness. The drive-by PD, the real quick sit and get that, well, we've got 5 PD days on our calendar, so here's what we're going to plan. Is that what the data is really showing us that our teachers need in our walkthroughs? Is this really what they need? And then this mentality too, Mitchell, of just, okay, well, you've had the PD now, go forth and implement.
But I think a lot of that comes because that's how it was in education, right?
Yes.
If you've been in this more than 20 years, you were supposed to always be the owner of what you do in your classroom and what you do. The
Yes.
principal was
Yep.
not involved. This idea of instructional leadership and instructional monitoring has not permeated how we work in education. Um,
That's so true.
so, I mean, you said like walkthroughs. Well, they're not doing walkthroughs, they're doing evaluation.
Yep.
Exactly. And I say all the time, it cannot be evaluative. That's not our purpose. It's for coaching and support. And what do we need to say out of our mouth to those teachers to support them and get them to the next step, to take them to the next step where they'll truly have an impact on student learning in their classrooms? Yes, so
My
critically
approach
important.
to the reason why I call them learning walks.
I
What's
love that.
intentional about that? Because I tell everyone when I go into the classroom, I am trying to learn what the student challenges are.
Mm.
I am here for children. So if I see continuous blending not being done, I'm taking note of that. If I
Yes.
see video sounds not coming up, I'm taking note of that. If I'm seeing students who, oh, it's a vocabulary issue. Oh, you don't have background knowledge. I'm taking note of that so I can go back to the teacher and say, hey, I'm noticing that the trend in the classroom is that most children, I think they still need, the routine, like breaking apart longer words. And I think they need some extra practice with summarization, right? Like
And
that's
that's
I think
specific.
that's the
Yeah.
purpose of a learning walk to tell you what the baby's
Yeah.
not
I
to evaluate
love that.
teacher. Like I'm like I see you teacher. But I also when I'm looking at the teacher, I'm looking more at this. How aligned are you to that evidence-based practice?
Yep.
Yes.
What step in this routine are you not sure about? You don't
Mhm.
have automaticity with. Why? Because when you come to the coaching debrief with me, you're gonna role play that step, right? I'm trying to help you. This is about help. I'm helping the teacher, I'm helping the child. That's the point.
And we had a prior conversation about how important that role play is. That so they don't just do it for the very first time in their classroom in front of the kids in the moment of instruction. For people that are listening that are confused by that, would you share just one more example of what that would look like? Or
Yes,
how a
so
leader could do that, and what's an example of what it would look and sound like? I think it's important.
so again, we all know like the GIST strategy, right? Where
Yes.
so in a coaching debrief, what I love to do is I'll tell the teacher, hey, bring the book that you're working on. Let's choose a paragraph from the book that's really challenging for the kids. And let's practice how you would model for kids how to create a gist of that most challenging part.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so they do that. And so they're up there, they're acting like the teacher. And who am I? I'm the student.
Mhm.
I'm giving you some curveballs. Why am I giving you those curveballs? Because the kids are going to give you curveballs. I want this role play to be as authentic as possible. So
Yes.
the role play is teacher is modeling whatever the evidence-based practice is, if it's phoneme, grapheme, mapping, summarization, vocabulary routine, prayer model. I'm the student. And then guess what I do? When I see the teacher make an error, I stop them at the point of the error.
Corrective feedback right in the moment. Yes.
And I'll think, and they know me. I'll say, okay, now do it again.
Yeah.
Do it again. No, I don't want. No, you didn't understand it. Do it in front of me again. When you do it in front of me again, I'm like, see, that's why you needed to do it again.
Yes.
Because I want you to be automatic. I want you to feel in your power. I want you to feel confident when you're
Yes.
in front of kids.
Yes. I remember doing this with my favorite second grade teacher I've ever worked with. She's a close friend of mine, Samantha. And in the beginning, she said, she's a close friend of Gretchen's too, I feel so silly doing this. I said, you will end up feeling empowered. if we go through this, you will end up, and it's going to make the delivery when you stand in front of your students, it's going to be so much easier and you're going to feel empowered. And she began to see it that way and then would see it as that was, oh my goodness, that was so beneficial. Doing that with you and getting that feedback right there in the moment. So then I am empowered to stand up in front of the kids and do it. That's a beautiful example.
You know, I used to do it, and what I loved about this, I get it now too, Dr. Brookins. And I role play with you? Yeah, we can role play.
Yes.
Because people begin to realize like it's a help. You make it
Hmm.
better. So coaching should feel like I leave my debrief better.
Yes.
Yes. And with a plan. I keep saying to leaders, with a plan. Teachers need to leave these sessions with a plan for what to go straight back into their classroom and do to be
Did you hear what I
empowered
said?
for
I
their
love
students.
that. Just have to stamp that you said, give them a plan what to do.
Yes, what to do. Not tell them
Not
what to do, but give them how, what you'll say out of your mouth to your students' ears to get this to happen.
That's the type of
Yes,
that is the type of PD that teachers like. That is actually the type of PD that we're seeing in implementation of science now that shows that, oh, that's what works.
Yep.
that's what works.
The
Yep.
knowledge PD doesn't really get into the classroom.
Nope.
So if you're sitting
It
in
doesn't
PD,
carry over.
if you're sitting in PD just learning all the theoretical concepts, implementation science is showing that it doesn't even impact children.
Well,
The
no.
practice, it's the practice.
I keep saying to Gretchen, I'm going to make a sign that says amen and just flash it in this podcast. And I have needed it so many times on this one. All right. Um, now I want to go to what would it look like? Because you and I have talked about just our literally, I'll try not to get emotional on this, our dream of what schools can look like, what they can feel like for not only the students, but also for the teachers. But what would it look like if school leaders were truly supporting literacy, not just administering it,
Hmm.
truly supporting it and not just administering it in their schools?
What we actually just described to you all,
We did. Yep.
it is the leader who can say, I see the trend in what our babies need.
Yes.
I see what evidence-based practice we can use. And teacher, I'm going to create an experience where you can learn that practice. And I'm going to watch you as you do that practice. And as you do it well, I'm going to be your cheerleader. But then as you have some mistakes, I'm going to be your coach.
Hmm.
Yes.
Right. And in the end of the day, we're both going to get a victory story because it's going to impact children. And
Yes.
because at the end of this cycle, I'm going to bring you back and we're going to look at student work sample. And we're going to see how it's impacting our kids because I'm going to let you know that everything that we do is in service of them. So it really is if you're going to be the leader who really is living and supporting literacy, you build a coherent professional learning system around.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I got emotional on that one. I apologize a bit. Got to get my tears in line, but yes. All right. Why do you think leaders are so overwhelmed right now? Because I'm seeing that they are. And what would it take to simplify the work without sacrificing the quality of the work? That's a loaded question, I know, if
Yep.
you want to break it down.
I'm really grateful for this question because I don't think we talk about this enough too. We talk a lot about teacher efficacy,
Hmm.
Yes.
but we
Yep.
don't talk about leader efficacy. We don't talk about that. It's not just the teachers who are stressed, the leaders are stressed, and leaders are actually leaving in groves as well.
They are. They're
They're
overwhelmed and burdened. Yep.
they're overwhelmed because it is so much to do. I don't think we really realize that. I think sometimes, and I'm not bashing teachers, but when all you are thinking about is your one classroom,
Mhm.
you have a different experience in that school. I know what it feels like to have the 20 classrooms that are going on and the parent that's upset and there's the rules have to be done, and then you've got lunch duty over here because people are not here today, and then you're the one who actually isn't subbing in the classroom. I know what
Yes.
it
Yep.
is. It's so it's not a it is so much going on that we're not even giving leaders a moment to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
There's no de-implementation, so I feel like they are overwhelmed because nothing is taken off of their plate, right?
So, so true.
Um,
Yes.
but they also don't get what teachers need too. Like they're not getting direction.
Right.
They're not like, okay, so
Exactly.
this
They
is the
aren't.
one
No.
thing. It's the one thing you need to focus on. So like, let's get our assessments right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get you into classrooms once a month. If that's the start, right?
Yeah.
You go to all, you've got 7 to 10 classes, you go through once a month. They're the ones that give you a mental model of your school. You know,
Mm-hmm.
let's ensure that you have a leadership team
Yes.
that can support you because many hands make light the work.
Amen.
Right? You got to understand that you can't do all this by yourself. And I don't I think we don't realize leaders are under pressure that like they have to be one.
The one and only one. Patty Montgomery and I write about that, and it's possible where you can't do this work that we're describing, literacy transformation, you can't do that all by yourself as one person. And the power of the teams, I remember setting that up as a first year principal, working with Patty with Schools Cubed and really setting up that school leadership team. And I remember the day of calling her and saying, this is by far not only my favorite thing I've ever done as a leader, it's been my most empowering thing that I have set up because, and I told her, I feel like the weight of this has been lifted off of me because it's not just me saying it. It's not just me leading it. Because even if I am one person and I've got a sense of urgency and I'm trying to do this, we can't do it by ourselves and it takes a team of people and two, the beauty of that is then it grows that team. It increases their leadership. I mean, it just it's so great.
I think so building that team, I also feel as if this, you got to go through the implementation. What are you going to start, stop, and continue?
Yes.
Mhm.
What is causing harm to your school? Get it out. Right. I think that's number two. And then number three, I actually think it's okay to prioritize. Like
Mhm.
I think, you know, going back to HQIMs, right? Some of these HQIMs have like over 20 or 30 routines in the curriculum.
Problematic.
As a leader, how can you then say, okay, y'all, it's I can name them, but it's a lot of them, you all know who they are. You've got to be able to prioritize and say, okay, this year, let's work on these three or four.
Yes.
The highest leveraging ones that are going to make our classroom at least proficient.
Mhm.
Right? I think there needs to be some prioritization and being very precise with instruction. I'll be honest with you all, I'm really tired of everybody needs to do structure literacy, structure literacy. No, let's be specific. Is it phone and graphic mapping? Do you want
Yes.
multiplication? Do you want vocabulary routines? Like, let's be specific about the evidence-based practices you want to hone in your school.
Yep.
And I've been saying to leaders, one thing at a time. Pat and I write about that too repeatedly in the book. One thing at a time. You can't be working on 8 things at once. Pick it, prioritize it, and then stay on that till you're seeing improvements with that. Stay there. And I think too, give leaders, give just exactly like we said to teachers, give them permission to stay there in that text and to, expand on that. Same thing with leaders. Stay there. You don't have to rush to the next thing until you get this piece right and it's making a difference for the students in the school.
Because what you currently do is not working, right?
Oh,
Yep.
I mean, oh my gosh, yes. Yes, because we're going to say that again. Because what you're currently doing isn't working. Yeah.
But, in education, we have this panic pedagogy, right? Everything we do is in a panic. We
Yep.
act like,
And frantic.
right? We are throwing spaghetti on the walls, trying to see what sticks. Even if we do have growth, we won't even know what made it happen because
Exactly.
many things have happened this year. So I think what we're really just calling out is that if you structure your approach, if you prioritize, if you build your systems, it's possible.
Yes, it is. It's possible.
And I
Yep.
think, when I wanted to go there because the reason why I may be overwhelmed because I don't believe it.
Say that again. Your
The,
sound
re-
cut out just a little bit.
the reason why I'm overwhelmed is maybe I don't think it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yep.
And I
You and
think
I've had that in another conversation at the literacy symposium. There are people who don't believe it's possible, and we've got to change that mindset because it is.
Yes.
because they haven't seen it.
Yes. Yep.
So that's why they need all of us to be here to say it's possible. I'll tell my story. I'll tell my share this. I'll say this. This is the way to go because so many people are ready to leave this field. They are tired.
Yes.
They're worn. They've been beat up. I am overwhelmed. I'm sick of this. I have lost my joy.
Yes. Hmm. And
And
we've
it's-
got to bring that back to them.
So we got to figure that out because we've made everything in education so hard and complex.
Yep.
Yep.
So
I cannot tell you how many, like, I don't even know what we'd want to call them, mic drop moments, like takeaway quotes that people need to, like emblazon on a t-shirt. But there have been so many of those in this just quick 1 hour discussion. I cannot thank you enough for giving us your time. Is there anything you want to say in closing before Gretchen closes us out?
I don't think there's anything better to say than possible.
It's possible.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes, it
Amen.
is. It is possible. So, once again, let's not just leave this information in this podcast. Let's go out. Let's make a difference. Use what you have learned today to ask questions, to learn more. If you feel that you're ready to try and implement some new things in your classroom, go for it. It doesn't have to be identical to the way that you taught last year. Things can be new. You can try new things. That's not bad. That's good. That is
Yeah.
good. We need to be trying new things. We need to be, reaching higher goals. We need to make some changes. So, once again, it has been a phenomenal hour with you here on Grit and Grace, a literacy journey. Grit and Grace, a literacy journey is an Angela Hanlon and Associates production. We hope to see you again soon. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Grit